So I was just thinking about that. Just as an end to my story, it's like what my final conclusion or final, I guess, advice is, in a way, for people or everyone. I'm not going to tell you that you should choose to be one way or the other, or one religion or the other, whatever you believe in. My only thing is that reason. I think you should reason about what you believe in, what you've been told, what you've grown up with, and maybe what you've seen in your community might not be the truth. And it's possible that you might reason and you could reach a conclusion that is different than mine. And that's okay, I would probably argue about that. But, anyways, the main part is that you should reason. Reason about your beliefs. Because at the end of the day, in this world, the real thing that actually going to matter is that what is the truth? What is our purpose? And if you don't believe there is any purpose, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. But maybe you should still even reason about that if there is a purpose to humanity. And if you have done your reading, that you're fine. But what I would suggest is that don't just listen to your own side, like your own beliefs side, to understand about other beliefs. So, for example, let's just say if you're an atheist, so don't just listen to atheist scholars describing, let's say, Islam or Christianity or other religions or Buddhism, whatever, because they're most likely biased. The same would be true for others. Let's say if you're a Christian and you are going to try to learn about atheism or Islam, why would you just listen to your Christian scholar doing that? Because they're most likely biased. Listen to the other side. Try to listen about the particular religion or beliefs from the perspective of that religion, not from your own side. That will probably provide you an idea like what really that belief system is about. And you can also, of course, add in like neutral scholars. Obviously, let's say you're a Christian and you want to learn about Islam, you could look into people who have talked about Islam who are not Muslims, but also not Christians. Let's say atheists. Of course, they could be biased against Islam, but then you can confirm that bias by listening to the same atheist person's views on Christianity. So it will give you an idea, okay, where their biases are, how much they're biased against religion. Like they can provide you a better perspective about it. And finally, I would say that try to be generous about like all the leniencies that you give to your own belief system. Try to be generous about that to the other side also. So, for example, again, unless you're a Christian and you see something in the Bible you're uncomfortable with, like for example, we could go even the story of original sin, or if not, let's just say we can go with another story of like a lot of violence in the Old Testament, where Israel is commanded to go kill basically every single person and animals and everything in the city when they attack it. Maybe you have an explanation for that. Like, okay, whatever explanation you got, and you're comfortable with it. Okay, I think that explanation is enough for this. Now, if you see the similar kind of issues or other issues in other belief systems, so for example with Islam, try to be lenient on that too. Try to be open to explanations that they might provide, because they will probably have explanations too, like the Muslims, and of course, others too. So that's what I'm saying. Like, try to be a little bit more equal grounded. Try to make sure that you're actually treating both sides in a similar way. And now that's the final part of it, which is, I think, the most important part. There's no side. There are no sides here in this one. When I want to argue or when I want to talk to someone, the purpose of mine is not to win, because then it will be just about me. Is it about me? Is it about like how awesome I am at debating and how I can actually just, can make the other person embarrassed or something because they knew less, and I knew a little more, and I was able to use my debating prowess to be able to win the argument? There's no winning. There's no losing. It's all about finding the truth together. We're all in this together. We're not separate in this one. So try to think of it that way. If you're uncomfortable with something and you are looking at some other belief system that you think is providing you better answers, then choose that. Why is that so difficult? Perhaps because you're so embedded into the culture that you were in, perhaps It's going to be very difficult to leaving maybe some of your friends who might not want to be with you anymore. Perhaps it would be difficult with your parents, with your family, so many situations. Of course, it would be. And it's not going to be easy in that scenario. But what I would suggest is that, first of all, if you're a Christian, you already know the answer to that. Jesus already said he came to put a father against son and all that, all those situations, because it is about following God in that situation. It doesn't matter. And then at that point, I would also say that if you're only staying in that particular belief system or belief religion or whatever because you're worried about losing friends, losing family, maybe it's different from your culture that you're going into their belief system, maybe reason about that too. Is that the right answer for you? Is that the right reason to not accept the truth? Because I think a lot of times people accept arguments or accept any reasoning based on the effect that it will have on their lives, not so much a lot of time on the actual merit of the reasoning itself. So maybe think about that too. Like, for example, for me, when I was thinking about being a Christian, I wanted to be a Christian. It was not easy because I knew what would happen. Like, I would most likely lose most of my friends and family back in Pakistan. People would not want to be associated with me. And I had to make a conscious decision about that. It wasn't easy. I'm not saying like, oh, it will be very easy. It's a very difficult decision. But I had to make a conscious decision. I'm like, and I accepted, okay, you know what? If this is really the truth, that's actually the truth. That's Christianity is it. This is the truth. Then yeah, I'd be fine. I'd be fine with that. It took some time, but it actually was the case. And actually it was the same even was like I was thinking about it the other way also because I was like, what if after doing all this, I have so many Christian friends, what if I lose them if I stay a Muslim or I guess become a Muslim if I choose to be a Muslim? What happens then with my friends here? So again, I had to think about that. So that's why I would say yes, these are a lot of difficult and hard questions, but you might want to think about them. And again, finally, there are no sides. There are literally no sides in this.